Am I the asshole for telling my mom I did not want her there when I got home from deployment? I, 21M, have been deployed for the past 10 months and I will be getting home in 1 week. My wife and I's plan was for her to be the only one to know what date I was coming back, so that when I get leave we can go back and surprise all of our family and friends. My wife, 21F, visited home a couple weeks ago for a family event, and while she was there she spent a day with my mom and 2 younger sister, HSH. My mother is very pushy and hates surprises. So much so that me surprising her by coming home would make her mad at me. My wife and I knew we would eventually have to tell her because of this, but we're waiting until the last minute because she would have told my sisters if she knew my date. Well, while my wife was there, my mom pushed and pushed, telling her that she wouldn't speak to her, let the girls go places, and she had to know so she could take days off work. My wife gave her a week range of my leave, a couple weeks after I get back, so that she could request off. Well, my mom texted me today telling me that she would be here for the welcome home when our plane lands. I asked if she cleared this with my wife, seeing as she apparently planned to stay with us in our 1-bedroom apartment, and she said no. I asked if the girls knew and were coming, and she said no. My mom has done a few things that presses between my wife and I, so I lost it on her. Told her I wouldn't be giving her the date that I fly in, that if I wanted her there I would want my sisters there as well. I stopped there until she started complaining that she was a single mom who raised me on her own, and that I should want to see her first. That's when I told her I didn't want her in my house at all when I first get home. I am a married, grown man now. I don't need my mom. I want to see and spend time with my wife first and foremost. She pressed further saying, I've been here for you since before you were born. She's been here for 4 years. Eventually trash-talking my wife, saying she doesn't even have a real job and doesn't contribute. My wife is a nanny while she is in school, and she gets paid well, so she absolutely does contribute more than enough. This is where I may be the asshole. I told my mom that I was tired of her badgering, that I wanted to come home to my wife and be alone in our home with our pets. My wife and I would not want to host her, and we wanted the house to ourselves so that we can have sex wherever and whenever we please because we haven't seen each other in so long. My mom cried. She's sending me long paragraph texts every few hours about how she doesn't know where her caring son went, about how I need to let my wife go because I use her for her body, about how all I care about is my own pleasure, and I have no care for my family at all. So Reddit, am I the asshole? I haven't responded to the messages my mother is sending, but if I get ideas from the possible comments, I might. Good job finally standing up to her. Stop giving her info and stop talking to her. Mom, until you learn to act like an adult and stop trash-talking my wife to me, I will not be communicating with you. I am very disappointed in you and how incredibly selfish and immature you are acting. Don't make your wife deal with this jerk. Not the asshole. Your mom is guilt-tripping you. You don't owe her anything. She had the choice to raise you, she wasn't forced to so for her to say. I've been here for you since before you were born, she's been here for 4 years. Is crazy to me. She's an example of a manipulative parent. Here's a paragraph from an article about manipulative parents, and their signs. Parents using emotional blackmail will often threaten to withdraw their love or approval if the child does not comply with their wishes. This can manifest as guilt-tripping the child, making them feel responsible for the parent's happiness, or expressing extreme disappointment when the child does not meet their expectations. Not the asshole. At least she stopped trying to get into your home when you got more specific on how you and your wife would be greeting each other. Not the asshole. There's a Facebook group your mom needs an invite to. It's called, The Boy Moms Are Getting Weird and Incesty Again. Not the asshole. Ew. I have a teenage son. My greatest hope for him is that he finds a partner who will love him and treat him like gold, who he loves and treats like gold in return. I want him to find happiness and make his own life with his own person because everyone should be able to experience love like that. I want him to build a life with someone and prioritize them because that's the only way a romantic relationship can thrive. Any mother who doesn't want that for her kids is fucking weird. Not the asshole. Your mom is a mess. I get her wanting to see you when you get back, but this is just too much. Obviously you're going to want to see your wife. Any mom with healthy boundaries would want you to be closer with your wife than with your mom. Am I the asshole for telling a parent that her autistic child shouldn't be at a sports camp? Throw away because I'm probably the asshole on this. I, 20 female, have coached a sports camp over the summer for the last several years at my local elementary school. The camp covers all sorts of sports and games for kids in elementary school to let them try many different sports and see which ones might stick. This year, we've started an inclusion program for kids on the spectrum, where inclusion specialists work at our camp specifically to look after those kids and help them through the camp if they need it. I've really enjoyed this program, and nothing is better than watching a kid find a sport they enjoy or excel at. Fast forward to this week, the third week we're holding the camp, and enter Connor and his mother Sarah, fake names OBV. Connor is 10, on the older side for this camp, and when we first met him in the morning, he seemed like a pretty good kid to work with at a camp. The problem was his mother. She pulled me aside before the day started to specifically tell me about what Connor needed. Turns out, Connor had pretty severe meltdowns, and what triggered them was losing. His mother asked me to make sure Connor never lost a game. This included his team never losing, letting him win all the races, making sure his team came first in the relays, never letting him get tagged in tag, and never letting him get eliminated in any sort of last man standing game. I told her on no uncertain terms that I couldn't control that, and that was unfair to the other kids if I told them to always let him win. She was not happy about this and told me that they were trying to avoid meltdowns this week and that he was working on it, but losing was still incredibly emotional for him. I told her that she really shouldn't have sent him to a sports camp if she thought it would put him in distress or force all the other kids to cater to him. She asked me what the hell the inclusion program was for, and I told her it meant I as a coach could help him and his inclusion specialist could help him, but the other kids weren't a part of this inclusion program. She left very angry, but left Connor with us for the day, during which he had 2 meltdowns that the inclusion specialist dealt with, but I started feeling guilty. The whole point of the program was to allow kids like him to participate, but I didn't want to sacrifice the other kids' experience just for him. So, am I the asshole? Edit. Thank you so much for your interactions, but here's a few quick details that I think got lost along the way. 1. This is not just a camp for neurodivergent kids. We brought a program in to integrate those kids in with the neurotypical kids. Over the past 3 weeks, there's been about a 10-to-1 ratio of neurotypical to neurodivergent. 2. This is a pretty small camp, 20-30 kids max, and my neighbor used to run this camp when I was in high school, but when I graduated he handed a lot of it over to me. He now runs the financial, location, marketing, and legal stuff while I organize most of the camp itself along with a few other coaches, 2 of whom are still in high school, 2 in college. There isn't really a supervisor or higher up I can hand the mother over to except for the inclusion specialist. Hope this helps. Edit 2, sorry. I don't hire the inclusion specialists, nor do I know exactly what they're qualified with, but they are working through a separate program outside our camp that we partnered with. They match the neurodivergent kids 1-to-1, and they are provided with all the information with the kids, including lists of trigger and what calms them down. They are all qualified adults, real adults, not college students and high schoolers like the coaches, and as far as I could tell they handled Connor's meltdowns with a lot of patience and expertise and got him back to playing with the other kids within a half hour or so after each inciting incident. When I originally told Sarah that the camp was likely not a good fit for Connor, I was more thinking about how the kid would be miserable in a cycle of meltdowns all day, and not about the qualifications of the inclusion program. Not the asshole, but you need to loop in your supervisor. It's not your call on who should and shouldn't be in this camp. Not the asshole, but you did handle it wrong. You shouldn't have said that he shouldn't be at camp. You should have gotten the inclusion specialist to explain things. It was fine to tell her you cannot try to make him always win, but let the people who understand inclusion explain why. Left Connor with us for the day, during which he had 2 meltdowns that the inclusion specialist dealt with. Some kids for neurological disability reasons are going to have meltdowns. Teaching them how to handle their emotional volatility and engaging in strategies that let them express emotions safely and calm down is inclusion. His mom's approach and request was unreasonable, but it sounds like the inclusion specialist knows what they're doing and handled it. Not the asshole. What she wanted wasn't inclusion. What she wanted was for her child to be catered to the point that every other child at the camp was an NPC to his main character. And she's doing him no favors if she ever expects him to gain any measure of independence,
because 90% of the world is not going to care about his triggers. That said, you were unnecessarily harsh. You should have passed her up the ladder to the people running the inclusivity program.
Not the asshole.
The entire point of sports is competition. If including him means that the other children cannot freely compete, they are not getting what they paid for. The mother is 100% the asshole here for expecting other children to cater to her son's inability to lose without melting down. I grew up with an autistic sister.
We always tried to include her in everything, but there were limits. My parents would never have done something like this.
We always gave her the option to participate, but if it was too much or if there were constant meltdowns, we changed course.
I talked about something very similar to this situation with my mom recently and brought up some of the memories of my sister and inclusion. She basically said, we always included her, but if it was too much, it wasn't fair to ruin anyone else's experience. The world is big. We just moved on to something else that she might enjoy. Well done, Mom. Well done.
Not the asshole, she's bonkers for asking the entire camp including attendees to cater to one child.
Am I the asshole for embarrassing my partner's friend's boyfriend?
My girlfriend wanted us to go on a double date with her friend and her boyfriend. I had met the friend before but never the boyfriend, so I asked my girlfriend what he was like. He's been out of work for nearly a year now and will refuse to apply for any job that isn't specific to what he wants to do. He lives with his parents and expects my GFS friend to pay for everything when they go out.
We got to the date and he immediately suggested doing rounds for drinks, so his girlfriend got the first round in. I got the next one, then my girlfriend got the one after that. He then told his girlfriend what he wanted to drink so she could get the next round.
I just mentioned that it was his round next. His response was just, "Oh, I don't have any money." I just asked why he suggested rounds and expected everyone else to buy him drinks, then if he knew he wasn't going to do it back. He just started going on about not having money, so I just said that maybe if he bothered applying for jobs he's actually be able to pay his way instead of expecting everyone else to pay for him. He said I was completely out of order, but I just pointed out I'm not the one expecting my girlfriend to pay for everything for me because I'm too lazy to get a job.
My girlfriend agreed with me and he walked off.
His girlfriend apologized to us both, then left with him.
I was talking to a friend about it and he said I shouldn't have said anything and that I was wrong for what I said and that I probably embarrassed him. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my partner's friend's boyfriend?
Not the asshole unless his girlfriend is picking up his round and doing her own. It's not just his girlfriend paying for his drinks, it's the two of you as well.
Even if his girlfriend is picking up his round in addition, you're still not the asshole for pointing it out to him. He expected everyone to foot his bill without contributing. You pointed out his unfair behavior. His embarrassment is a consequence of his own actions. Your girlfriend agreeing with you confirms your stance. The boyfriend sucks for suggesting shots and not planning to contribute. But you also suck for bringing it up in front of everyone. It's not your job to police how they handle finances between themselves. You've never met this person and start ragging on them for what's probably a complicated and nuanced situation you only know about third hand. If someone asks for help, that's one thing. But using shots as an excuse to criticize someone's life choices is asshole behavior. You're the asshole for being presumptuous about the financial arrangement between the other couple. It would be out of line for the guy to expect you and your girlfriend to cover his share of the tab.
But if his girlfriend chooses to take him out knowing that she'll be paying for both of them, she's entitled to make that choice herself.
It's disrespectful to her to ignore her agency there. Even if you suspect she's being financially abused and supporting her partner against her will, criticizing her boyfriend in the middle of the date is not a helpful way to intervene. It would be better for you to back off and let your girlfriend address that with her privately as her closer friend. You are the asshole.
You're not getting shortchanged here. And you have no idea what the dynamic is on their end. You have never interacted with the dude before and you made a bunch of assumptions about his character based on what you've heard. You are the asshole. If the boyfriend had paid for both of their rounds because the girlfriend was unemployed, would you be calling her out?
Highly doubtful.
A dick move by you to make yourself feel superior, as it was none of your business how their dynamic works, regardless of your feelings.
Am I the asshole for pointing out double standards when I was basically infantilized?
I, 24 female, have some mental health issues including ASD, PTSD and possible schizophrenia.
I do look young for my age, and I sometimes come across as younger because of some facial expressions, body language, and having a higher pitched voice, which is related to the disabilities. I don't mind looking younger and see it as a positive thing, but I also get infantilized by some people and treated like less of an adult by family members in their circles due to bias against disabled people, which I find unfair. I recently graduated with a bachelor's degree, and I was working and supporting myself in college, and have been for the most part financially independent since 21 years old.
However, I am on the family plan for my cell phone, and during my last year my family sent me money to go to Starbucks once a week.
My new job doesn't start until fall since it's in education, so I have been staying at my parents' house and enjoying my free time.
Some family friends came over for lunch, and one of them said that I will be an adult soon, during conversation, and I said that I am already an adult. A family friend, 25 female, said something like, "If your parents send you money every month, you're not really an adult yet, it's a different experience."
I pointed out that her parents pay for her children's daycare and also help with bills every month, and asked if that means she's not an adult. She got defensive, and I said that we're both adults.
We are making our own decisions, and for the most part supporting ourselves and getting help doesn't mean that we are not adults.
She seemed upset, and everyone quickly changed the subject.
Later, my parents and siblings said that I didn't have to call her out like that, but she literally said the same thing. I wasn't even actually calling her a child, I was pointing out the flaws in her logic, and I said that we are both adults.
Not the asshole, you have a right to defend yourself.
To hell with what anyone says. Especially when it's against blatant hypocrisy. You shouldn't have to take that just to keep the peace.
Not the asshole.
You're right, if her definition of adulthood is not needing financial help from your parents, then she's not an adult either.
I got assistance from my parents when I was studying for my degree. That didn't make me a non-adult, it just meant my parents wanted to help me graduate.
Adults push back. Just lean into it with sensitivity and caring.
Not the asshole.
You just told it like it was.
She was the one who wanted to make this an issue. Not the asshole.
What a condescending thing to say.
I think Little Miss Big Nose should get off of her high horse.
Your comment was brilliant, and if I was there, I would have laughed.
Well played, thumbs up, light skin tone. I'd argue that parents sending you money for a treat, i.e. Starbucks, is very different to parents sending money for bills, childcare, etc. Family friend needs to learn the difference. Not the asshole.